Have you ever felt it? That cold stab in your gut? That unsettling echo in your mind? It happens when you least expect it. A whispered comment you overhear. A message you weren't meant to see. A piece of gossip that reaches you through a well-intentioned friend. Someone has spoken ill of you. And suddenly the world feels a little darker. Your armor of confidence cracks, and for a moment you feel exposed, vulnerable, judged. The first reaction is almost always the same, a wave of heat rising in your chest. Anger, shame, sadness. An urge to defend yourself, to scream, to prove them wrong. But what if I told you that this reaction, this primal impulse, is the very trap itself? What if the real power wasn't in fighting back, but in understanding? Criticism and slander are like poisoned arrows. But the poison only takes effect if you allow it into your bloodstream. On this journey we won't learn to build higher walls. We will learn to turn poison into an antidote. We will explore the depths of human psychology, the wisdom of ancient philosophers, and the strength that lies in our own self-knowledge to become unshakable. If the quest for this inner fortress resonates with you, if you seek more clarity and balance to navigate life's storms, then this content was made for your journey. Consider your like the first brick in building your peace. And your subscription, the gateway to a knowledge that strengthens you from the inside out. With each video, a new tool. With each reflection, another step toward wisdom. Part 1. The immediate impact and the biology of social pain. I vividly remember the first time this hit me hard. I was early in my career, full of insecurities but masking it all with a facade of competence. One day as I walked past a room I heard my name. I stopped instinctively. It was two colleagues and the conversation was not flattering. They were dissecting a mistake I had made, but with a tone of mockery, of pleasure in pointing out my failure. In that moment the air seemed to thicken. My heart raced, my hands went cold. I didn't just feel anger. I felt shame. A deep, penetrating shame that made me want to disappear. I spent the rest of the day on autopilot, their every word echoing in my head. He's not as good as he thinks he is. That was an amateur mistake. That night I couldn't sleep. I replayed the scene over and over, imagining brilliant comebacks I should have used, feeling the anger mix with an overwhelming sadness. I was allowing two people in a 5-minute conversation to define my worth. What I didn't understand at the time is that this reaction is profoundly biological. Our brain is hardwired for social connection. For our tribal ancestors, exclusion from the group meant death. Being spoken ill of, criticized, or ostracized activates the same brain regions as physical pain. The pain of rejection isn't a metaphor. Your brain processes it as if you've been physically injured. It's the amygdala, our primitive alarm center, firing off an existential danger signal. Understanding this is the first step to freedom. You are not weak or too sensitive for feeling hurt. You are human. Your system is responding to a perceived threat in the way it was designed to over millions of years. The pain is real. But what we do with that pain, the story we tell ourselves after the alarm sounds, that is a choice. Modern society has amplified this mechanism. Social media has become a global arena for judgment. A negative comment from a stranger on the other side of the world can ruin our day. We live under a constant microscope, real or imaginary. And this pressure to be perfect, to be universally liked, is a recipe for suffering. Because the inescapable truth is, you will never be universally liked. And the quest for it is the quest for a mirage in the desert. Accepting the initial pain as a biological response, not as a truth about who you are, is the first act of power. You feel the pain, you acknowledge it, and you tell yourself, okay, my brain is reacting to a social threat. This is normal. Now, how do I, the consciousness behind the reaction, choose to proceed? Part 2. The mirror. Why do people speak ill? After surviving the initial impact, the next step is to shift your focus. Stop looking at your own wound and start analyzing the archer. Why does a person go to the trouble of speaking ill of another? Rarely, almost never, is it about you. It's almost always about them. A person's words are a mirror of their own inner world. Think about it. Does a happy, fulfilled person at peace with themselves feel the need to diminish others? To spread negativity? No. Happy people want to see others happy. People who feel good about themselves lift others up. Destructive criticism, gossip, slander. These are symptoms of an inner sickness. Let's dissect the main reasons why people criticize. 1. Insecurity and projection. This is the most common. When someone sees a quality in you that they lack, confidence, talent, success, happiness, it can trigger their own insecurities. Instead of dealing with that uncomfortable feeling, it's much easier to project it outward. Attacking you is a way to feel momentarily better about themselves. If they can bring you down to their level, the comparison becomes less painful. They are not attacking you, they are attacking the reminder of their own perceived shortcomings. 2. Envy. Envy is a poison that consumes the one who feels it. It's the desire to possess what another has, mixed with resentment for not having it. The envious person cannot celebrate your achievements. Your every victory is a defeat for them. Speaking ill of you, finding flaws in your success, is a desperate attempt to invalidate what you have built, making it easier for them to live with their own inertia. 3. Difference in values. Sometimes criticism doesn't come from a place of malice, but from a deep incompatibility of values. Your way of life, your choices, your authenticity may challenge the rulebook that the other person follows. Someone who values security above all else may criticize you for taking risks. Someone who lives to please others may call your authenticity selfishness. Their criticism is a defense of their own belief system. For boredom and lack of purpose. Yes, it's as banal as it sounds. Some people speak ill of others because their own lives are empty. Gossip and others' drama are the entertainment that fills the void of their existence. Talking about you gives them a sense of importance, of connection, albeit a toxic one, with others, and a topic of conversation that distracts them from their own lackluster lives. 5. A distorted cry for help. In rarer cases, criticism can be a distorted and clumsy way of trying to connect or express a concern. This is more common with family or close friends who don't know how to communicate their fears or feelings in any other way. Criticism of your new partner might be a fear of losing you. Criticism of your career change might be a concern for your financial security. When you understand that their words are a reflection of their own internal struggles, the criticism loses its power. It ceases to be a personal attack and becomes a diagnosis of their condition. You shift from victim to observer. And with this perspective, the anger begins to dissipate, often giving way to a form of compassion. Not a compassion that absolves them, but one that liberates you. You look at them and think, what must it be like to live in that state of negativity? What kind of pain must they be carrying to need this? Part 3. The Stoic Wisdom, the Power of Silence and Indifference. Over 2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosophers already had the answer to this question. They developed a practical philosophy for living a good life in an unpredictable and often hostile world. One of their central tenets is the dichotomy of control. There are things we can control and things we cannot. You cannot control what others think. You cannot control what others say. You cannot control their actions. To try to do so is the definition of insanity and suffering. What can you control? Your own perceptions, your own judgments, and your own reactions. Therein lies all your power. The Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Think about the depth of that. When someone attacks you with words and you respond with anger, with insults, with the same negativity, you have descended to their level. You have become just like them. You have allowed them to dictate the rules of the game and your emotional state. You have lost. The true victory, the true demonstration of strength, is calculated indifference. This is not an apathetic indifference of someone who cares about nothing. It is a selective indifference. You choose not to give importance to that which does not deserve your mental and emotional energy. Imagine their words are stones being thrown at you. You have 3 options. 1. Pick up the stones and throw them back. This is retaliation. It's tiring, it wastes your energy, and it pulls you into the same dirty game. 2. Let the stones hit you. This is being the victim. You absorb the impact, get hurt, and carry the weight of the pain. 3. Step aside and keep walking. This is Stoic wisdom. You acknowledge the stone coming, you understand the thrower's intent, but you refuse to be the target. You do not give the stone the power to stop you or to harm you. Silence, in this context, is a powerful weapon. It communicates unequivocally, what you say has no power over me. Your opinion does not define my reality. I will not spend my most precious asset, my peace of mind, on this. This indifference is baffling to the critic. They expect a reaction. They feed on your drama, your pain. When you give them nothing, they are left powerless, starved. The attempted attack fails, the arrow falls to the ground without hitting its mark. Practicing this takes training. The next time you feel the sting of criticism, take a deep breath. Instead of reacting, observe. Observe the emotion rising within you. Observe the person who criticized you. Remember the dichotomy of control. And choose consciously not to participate. Remember the words of Epictetus, another great Stoic. If anyone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you but answer, "He was ignorant of my other faults, else he would not have mentioned these alone." This is the mindset of an inner fortress. Part 4. The cold analysis, separating the gold from the mud. Stoic indifference does not mean blindly ignoring everything. Within the mud of criticism, there can sometimes be a small nugget of gold. An uncomfortable truth that, if we have the courage to face it, can lead to growth. This is where emotional intelligence comes into play, turning an attack into a tool for self-knowledge. Once the initial emotional wave has passed and you have refused to react impulsively, it's time to become a detective of your own life. Ask yourself, with total honesty and without self-pity, these 4 questions. 1. Is there any truth, however small, in what was said? Be brutally honest. Forget the tone, the malicious intent, the way it was delivered. Focus only on the content. If they said you're disorganized, is there an area of your life where that's true? If they said you were selfish in a situation, was there a moment where you could have been more considerate? It's incredibly difficult to admit this because our ego always wants to be right. But it's in this discomfort that growth happens. If the answer is yes, you've just received free feedback. Painful, poorly delivered, but free. Be grateful for the lesson, not to the person but to the universe, and use this information to improve. This is turning poison into medicine. 2. If there is no truth at all, why did it affect me so much? This question is perhaps even more powerful. If the criticism is a complete lie, an absurd fabrication, why did it bother you? The answer, often, is that the criticism touched on one of your insecurities. Maybe they called you incompetent, and even though you know you're not, there's a small voice in the back of your mind that fears being incompetent. The external criticism just turned up the volume on an internal critic that already existed. Identifying this is a gift. Now you know which area of your self-esteem needs more work. You've discovered a weak spot in your armor that needs to be reinforced, not for them but for you. 3. What was the person's likely intention? Go back to the mirror analysis. Was the person insecure? Envious? Bored? Trying to understand their motivation is not to forgive them, but to depersonalize the attack. When you realize that the criticism was a symptom of their pain, not an accurate assessment of you, the attack loses its validity. It becomes just irrelevant noise. 4. What does this reveal about the person's character, and how should I adjust my relationship with them? Criticism is data. Valuable information about who the person is. They have shown you that they are not trustworthy. They have shown you that they have a negative or envious nature. Use this information. Not to hold a grudge but to protect yourself. This might mean limiting contact, no longer sharing personal information, or, in extreme cases, cutting the person out of your life. You are not being vengeful, you are being wise. You are tending to your garden and removing the weeds that threaten to choke your flowers. This process of cold, methodical analysis is what separates a reactive person from a proactive one. You stop being a ping-pong ball batted back and forth by others' opinions, and become the chess player who observes the board, understands the opponent's moves, and plans their own strategy with calm and clarity. Part 5. The rebuilding, forging unshakable self-esteem. This entire strategy crumbles if your self-esteem depends on external validation. If you need others to tell you that you are good, smart, or valuable to believe it, you will always be a prisoner. Criticism will destroy you and praise will inflate you, and you will live on an emotional roller coaster controlled by others. The ultimate solution is to build what the Stoics called an inner citadel. A fortress within your mind, based on values and self-acceptance, that no external criticism can penetrate. This is not arrogance. Arrogance is a fragile overestimation of oneself. True self-esteem is a calm, deep knowledge of your own worth, regardless of circumstances. How do you build this citadel? Brick by brick. 1. Define your values. Who are you at your core? What is non-negotiable for you? Honesty? Courage? Compassion? Creativity? Loyalty? Write down your top 3 to 5 values. Live by them. When you act in alignment with your values, the opinions of others become secondary. If someone criticizes you for being too direct, and one of your values is radical honesty, the criticism becomes a compliment. You know you are on the right path. 2. Practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness you would treat a good friend who is suffering. When you fail or are criticized, the inner voice is usually cruel. You're an idiot. How could you do that? Change that dialogue. Tell yourself, okay, that was hard. You're feeling bad and that's understandable. Everyone makes mistakes. What can we learn from this to do better next time? Self-compassion breaks the cycle of shame and self-aggression. 3. Create an evidence file. Our brain has a negativity bias. It remembers failures and criticisms more easily than successes. Actively fight this. Create a real or digital file. In it, save every sincere compliment you've received. Write down all your achievements, big and small. Describe the challenges you've overcome. When doubt or criticism shakes you, open this file. Read it. Remind yourself of who you are, based on facts and evidence, not on the distorted opinion of an unhappy person. 4. Invest in competence. Confidence comes from competence. Choose an area of your life, work, a hobby, a sport, and dedicate yourself to getting good at it. The process of learning, practicing, failing, and improving builds a real and robust self-confidence. This confidence spills over into other areas of your life. When you know you are capable of mastering something, your belief in your overall ability increases. 5. Curate your inner circle. The saying, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with," is brutally true. Surround yourself with people who support you, who challenge you to be better, who celebrate your victories, and who offer you constructive, not destructive, criticism. A strong inner circle acts as both a shield and a support system, making external criticism far less significant. Building this inner citadel is the work of a lifetime. It is a continuous process. But every brick you lay makes you stronger, more resilient, more free. You become the primary source of your own validation. Part 6. The strategic response. When and how to confront. Silence is the default strategy. Indifference is your armor. But there will be rare moments when a response is necessary. When slander threatens your career, your family, or your reputation in a tangible and damaging way. In these cases, passivity can be interpreted as an admission of guilt. But even here, the reaction must not be emotional. It must be a strategic, cold, and calculated confrontation. A chess master's move, not the punch of a desperate boxer. If you decide that confrontation is necessary, follow these rules of engagement. 1. Wait for the right moment. Never confront in the heat of the moment. Anger is a terrible advisor. Wait until you are completely calm, centered, and have processed your emotions. It might take hours or even days. Time is on your side. 2. Choose the right venue. Confront in private. Doing it in public turns the situation into a spectacle, and both of your egos will come into play, preventing any resolution. A private confrontation is about resolving, not about humiliating. 3. Use I statements. Don't start with an accusation. "You said that I?" This immediately puts the person on the defensive. Start with your perspective and your feelings, which are undeniable. Use the formula, "I heard that," describe what was said factually. "When I heard that, I felt," describe the feeling, disappointed, confused, hurt. "I wanted to clarify this with you." Focus on facts, not emotions. Present the facts as you know them. "I was told that at the meeting on Tuesday this comment was made. Is that correct?" Remain calm no matter how the other person reacts. If they deny it, if they become aggressive, maintain your calm and firm posture. Your serenity is your greatest strength. 5. Set a clear boundary. The goal of the confrontation is not necessarily to get an apology, which may never come. It is to set a boundary. You can end the conversation by saying, "I value our professional/personal relationship, and for it to continue, I need there to be mutual respect. I will not tolerate being spoken about in this way in the future. I hope you can understand." 6. Be prepared to walk away. You cannot control their reaction. They might lie, attack, distort. You must be prepared to simply end the conversation if it's not productive. "I see we're not getting anywhere. I've said what I needed to say. Have a good day." And walk away. You have done your part. You have acted with integrity and courage. The rest is not in your control. Strategic confrontation is not about winning an argument. It is about defending your honor, your space, and your boundaries with dignity and self-control. It is the final act of a person who refuses to be a victim. Conclusion. Turning lead into gold. Look back at the journey we've taken. We started with the raw pain of a criticism, the feeling of being diminished, judged. And now look where we are. We understood that pain is a biological reaction, not a verdict on our worth. We learned to look through the critic and see the reflection of their own insecurities and pains. We absorbed the wisdom of the Stoics, learning to protect our inner peace with selective indifference. We developed the skill of a detective, separating useful truth from toxic lies. We began laying the bricks of our inner citadel, a self-esteem that does not depend on external approval. And finally, we learned to confront when necessary, not with anger, but with the quiet strength of strategy. You see what happened? A negative, potentially destructive event was transformed into a catalyst for immense growth. The criticism didn't weaken you. It forced you to become stronger, wiser, more self-aware. You used the darkness to fuel your light. This is the true alchemy of the soul, turning the lead of negative experience into the gold of wisdom. The next time someone speaks ill of you, and it will happen, smile inwardly. Not with arrogance, but with knowledge. You will know that this is another test. Another opportunity to practice the art of being unshakable. Another training session to strengthen your inner citadel. They thought they were shooting an arrow. Little do they know they were just handing you another brick to build your fortress. What was the hardest criticism you ever received, and what did it teach you? Share your wisdom in the comments.